I'm Emily Lazar, Grammy Award-winning and 8-time nominated Chief Mastering Engineer of the Lodge. In addition to my role in helping to shape the sounds of incredible artists in the studio, I'm also the founder of We Are Moving the Needle, a nonprofit dedicated to radically reshaping the future of the recording industry. As a part of our mission to drive measurable change, we work to promote gender equity and inclusion. Together with organizations like Women in Music, Sound Girls, She is the Music, Women's Audio Mission, Change the Conversation, and Equalize Her, we work to amplify underrepresented stories. If you're a music fan, you're undoubtedly familiar with Brandi Carlile. She's a 9-time Grammy Award winner and 24-time Grammy-nominated artist whose versatility and musicianship spans genres. But today, we're setting our sights on another facet of her incredible talent, Brandi Carlile, the producer. Not only has she been a driving force behind her own albums, but she's also lent her production chops to albums for some very special artists. Her production credits include Joni Mitchell's Live at Newport, Tanya Tucker's Sweet Western Sound, Brandy Clark's self-titled album, Lucius' Second Nature, the Secret Sisters Saturn Return, as well as newcomer Tish Melton's Michelle. This year, Brandi also self-produced covers of Home for the final season of the beloved Ted Lasso series, and Closer to Fine for the sensational blockbuster smash Barbie. Recently, I had the distinct pleasure of sitting down for a conversation with my friend, producer Brandi Carlile. Thank you for being here to talk about what you do and how you feel about it and how you make that magic happen. I know everyone, including me, wants to hear.
Thank you for doing it. I love talking with you about this kind of stuff. Every time we get together, we do this, so we might as well do it on camera.
That's right.
You know,
it's fun. So let's just start with going from artist to producer.
Yeah.
Big jump. But not really.
Strange jump. It's kind of like a little crab walk or something. It's like,
did you feel like there were people kind of in your way, or did you feel like it was a welcoming space for you?
It's like my fandom of other artists is so intense. Sometimes it just like rules my world, and it always has ruled my world since I was a little kid. Like, one thing I really know how to be is a fan. And I'm like a fan with a lot of opinions about artists and which were their best records and what was their best period and why did Caribou sound like this and Rock of the Westies sound like this. And, I have all of these opinions about artists and their eras and the sort of iterations and phases that they go through as people and artists and how those things parallel. So I kind of made my soiree in production by being a mega fan of the artists I've gotten the opportunities to work with and getting to fulfill my own sick little fantasy of getting my hands on their music in some way, not in an intrusive way, but in a supportive way. It's based on genuine belief in what they do.
And the highest form of flattery is, right, when we all sit there and play their songs. So, for example, let's just jump right to it. Joni, icon, the Blue is my favorite album of all time. I don't understand why it took you so long to find.
I was immature.
Thank God for Catherine, but
immature little baby diaper, just wanted to hear Joan Jett only.
Well, there's some beauty in that too, I gotta say. But
exactly.
Let's talk about that for a second. That relationship. How do you get someone like Joni's? While you have all this adulation for her, how do you get that trust? How do you create that? Especially for her where she is in her life, that making a place for her that is really vulnerable and uncomfortable, comfortable. Like, what do you do? What are your tricks as a producer to kind of bring out the best in somebody who we all already think is the best in the first place? And then the performances in Newport, the live things that you guys have done are just, they're so special. How do you do that?
Well, you can only follow Joni. I would like to claim that in some way I was able to produce Joni Mitchell as an artist, but that really wasn't my role in this case. You can only really follow Joni and follow your own instinct as to what she's going to allow you to facilitate at any given time. If you give her a suggestion musically, and most of the time even sonically, she's going to want to do the opposite thing. Because that's why we love her. That's who she is. She is the ultimate that's what she does.
It's interesting, even in listening to like Case of You from Newport, for example, there are moments where, and as I started as a singer, you obviously as the master of that, and your vocal range and your abilities are so limitless, it seems. But in the version that you guys did at Newport, it's really interesting to listen to how you support her and guide her and back off and follow. And it's such a beautiful dance.
It's changing too.
Oh, the whole time.
It's changing now even, you know. It's like I am singing less and less and less. It's pulling back and handing the entirety of Joan's songs and music back to her as her recovery. Just the trajectory of that has just been like beautiful to watch, like a shooting star.
Yeah.
And she's really, really special. You know, what my role with Joni is based on encouragement and belief and no bullshit. Like she would sense false encouragement. If it were based on something that wasn't great, she'd know and she'd get you for it.
Does she encourage you?
Good question. The times that she has, it's really meaningful because it's rare. And again, that's just something I wouldn't change about Joan and who she is, you know. And there have been a few really key times and they're tattooed on my soul forever. Speaking of tattooed, you know, in the Joni Jam, Marcus Mumford, did he ever tell you this story? This was a recent thing. He's really invested in the Joni Jam, and he said something to Joni. He was questioning something about what he was playing. And she just leaned over to him and she said, "Your instincts are good." And he went straight to a piece of paper and he said, "Write that down." And he got it tattooed because when she pays you a compliment, it's that important. Like you do it. So my role with Joni has been so unique and so spectacular. It's been quite an experience for me, and something that I'll probably take with me for the rest of my life.
I mean, I'm sure that on a personal level, your reflections are beyond anything that we can even imagine from watching this relationship transpire. But there is something so special that we share when we, as an audience, as a consumer of this, kind of get in that glimpse, and it's so special.
I know. I make her, whenever we talk about it, I always accidentally make her sound so serious. She's not. She's really light. Like she's so funnier than me. She could drink me under the table. She's really like an awesome person to be around, but she just tells the truth. Like, what did Janet Jackson say? She says, "Joni Mitchell never lies." Right. Joni Mitchell never lies.
Right? Since the beginning for her. Well, so let's flip to a second to talk about like working with younger artists who are less in control of their art, maybe, and maybe less opinionated because she's obviously got her thing. What about working with Brandy Clark, for example?
Brandy Clark is like, that is an interesting, that's been an interesting project, like coming face to face with yourself, you know. There's things about Brandy that I deeply understand, and I'm really personally invested in her life.
Right.
So those songs were just washing over me, and I wanted somehow to get inside of them. And getting to work with her on those kind of humanity-defining songs. I think those songs define her in some ways. They're incredible. That's why she named the album Brandy Clark, which I think was such a beautiful thing to do, such a risk, and honestly such a compliment too, to me and everybody that got to work on it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Lighten this for a second. Favorite snacks in the studio, you and Brandy?
Oh, man. Well, we were working out there at Shangri-La. So Hardy's lobster burrito.
Yeah.
I could do 2 of those a day. And I would do 2 of them a day.
All right, I'm with you on that. I'm a Northeastern girl, so lobster's my thing.
Yeah, okay.
It's my jam. Yeah, okay. So favorite mic on her. For her vocals. And then favorite mic on you. Okay.
SM7 on me. And I would say almost everybody that I've worked with so far, except Joan, because we're only experimenting with live mics right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chain.
I like the versatility of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I just like the versatility of it, from loud to quiet. And the chain would be something that'd be better defined by the engineers that I've been able to rely on over the course of those projects. The people that I've been lucky enough to work with this year and throughout my career have taught me so much. And my relationship with the engineers isn't dissimilar to what it is when I'm an artist in the studio. They're still trying to interpret abstract thought for me. They're still trying to interpret that eccentricity and make it make sense.
Yep.
Our ideas are just ideas. And these engineers are absolutely imperative to the outcome of that. And the vibe's got to be right. So
sure.
I've had some really special people help me in the studio.
You want to give a couple nods?
Yeah, the Tanya Tucker project, David Spring, and a lot of stuff recently I've done with David as well. And my boy Brandon Bell, he's really special, really important to me, and he's finished sentences.
Love that
for me now. It's got to the point where, he's probably the only person in the world that I would leave the room and let him do a vocal comp of my own voice.
Right.
I wouldn't leave the room on another artist's vocal comp, but he really.
Sometimes with yourself, it's good to have some separation, though.
Yeah.
Really,
if you really trust.
Yeah.
The people that you're working with.
So on my notes here, I've got trust, vulnerability. That's what we need to talk about.
That's what it's really all about, and that's really probably what my superpower is as a producer, because I don't bring the technical knowledge. I bring a lot of indistinguishable, eccentric ideas.
Do you think that they really are actually technical, but you just need a translator?
Do you think?
I do.
Yeah.
So I definitely do. And I started completely with no technical prowess whatsoever, and then learned absolutely everything so that nobody could ever tell me that I didn't know.
Well, and that's such a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is are we allowed to have technical ideas? Are we allowed to say technical things? What if we say it wrong? Are we going to get ridiculed, laughed at, not given the opportunities?
Yes, and yes.
Those are the reasons I think why, we have to get deeper into these conversations and stuff like that. I think probably one of the first people that I feel gave me permission to have ideas at the console would be Trina Shoemaker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think one of the first records that she was on that I just totally fell in love with was Lucius Jackson.
Oh, really?
I think so.
And that's not even one of the ones that she's most famous for, but you're right.
First, yeah.
Yes. That's really cool.
Like really deep sounding. Yeah, and she was working with someone else, on that. And I just remember hearing it. And I was actually working with the mastering engineer who was mastering that. So I heard it fresh and I was like, what is this? This is amazing.
Wow.
And it was a totally different sound. And then she went on to make some incredible, beautiful albums. And then she took a break, which I also think is really great, to make sure that you spend time re-energizing your soul and having a family. And I have a son. And you have kids. And I think it's really important, to find your space in all of this.
Especially if you're a natural obsessive. You know what I mean? And we are.
I think we all are.
We really are. We're obsessive. And so it's if we get tunnel vision and it takes us away from ourselves too fundamentally, we'll just go down the rabbit hole and never find it again. So you're right. Those breaks are imperative. I would think especially to people that work most of their time in studios, because they're kind of vacuums, they're dark, they're climate controlled, they're strange. It's hard to know really what's happening.
It's like
outside.
Vegas.
Yeah, it's like a casino. They pump oxygen in there to keep us in there for these 14-hour days. Because 16 hours can pass before you know it.
That's what I was going to say, right? So what is the trick for you in scheduling these things? You are so busy. You are doing everything from supporting your own career, producing other artists, working with your own nonprofit, working with We Are Moving the Needle and all these other amazing women's groups that you spend time, and all these great tours and the boats and the this. I mean, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And amazing in every way. How do you schedule the time in the studio when you're working with an artist and you're the producer? Not when it's you, but when you're the producer.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the day? Is it free for all? Is it
good question?
Is it blocked out? Do you have are you
Well, I think
the
in a really
warden?
macro sense. Like
Okay.
I kind of am paying really close attention to everybody else, whether or not they've eaten, if everybody's okay, what's the blood sugar like, how long's the engineer been there? How long are we expecting them to be here after we leave? How's the artist doing? And those kinds of things will inform what a day looks like for me, whether it's a 9 to 5 or whether we're not even doing anything until the sun goes down and we're not leaving until the sun comes up. It's really a primal artist-led experience for me. And I like that because my job as Brandi Carlile is so me-centric, and it's really kind of one of the most therapeutic and intensely immersive ways I get outside of myself and into somebody else's life and art, in harmony with other people, because I can't do it myself, obviously.
Right.
I can't sit down.
Does that make
console.
producing your own stuff really difficult?
I don't produce my own stuff unless it's an on assignment thing.
Like a thing, or like the new Barbie
Yeah,
track?
because the direction's decided.
Right.
It's like I have to make an incredible, legendary song, honor the creator and honor the project.
Right.
Okay, great, I can do that. But if it's like, who's Brandi Carlile going to be next year? I need somebody else to get in that passenger seat with me and help me decide. I know I can't produce myself as an artist, but I can really work with other artists to the point where I feel sometimes like it might be more my calling than anything else. I'm really more drawn outside toward collaboration.
Brilliant.
So that every 5 years when I do go in and go, what's inside of here, like I'm not bogged down with a bunch of ego.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest challenge for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Is navigating that very treacherous little fall off the cliff into me.
Yeah. And if you jump into the studio with another artist and you're listening to their songs, you're listening to them pour their heart out, you got to get outside yourself. There's nothing pulling you back into you, And the way I schedule that is just based on obsession.
Does anybody have to be like, hello?
It's just my wife.
Time to start. Got it. And that's brilliant.
But she's an artist too, and she's obsessive. So she'll be like, she would never hassle me to leave the studio. She gets it. Like, she really gets it.
And I've kind of seen her go from not publicly being out there to now being out there and doing beautiful, incredible songs with you. And do you feel like you're kind of her built-in live-in producer?
No way, God.
Is she yours?
I wish. She's definitely my focus group. I run everything I do past her. She's got that impeccable British taste, and she's so honest. She's more honest than, she's as honest as Joni.
Right.
And she's just wonderful. She loves that Brandy Clark album. And she was a big champion for me. At the end of the day, I would come home and she'd be awake and we'd get in bed and talk about Brandy Clark.
Yes.
And I'd play her the rough mixes, and Brandon was always sending me my roughs and everything. And that's a special record. That's a real, that's a once a generation Americana record, like
100.
Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. So do you have any go-to studios that you love? That's where you want to work. Where do you love to do your work? Where is your happiest place?
I love Shangri-La.
Mm-hmm.
I think that place has a really flowy, beautiful, light, angelic vibe.
And the water doesn't suck.
Yeah, that doesn't suck. Although we never see it in the daylight. Come on, who are we kidding? We're not going down the water.
It's there.
Ordering from Hardee's,
it's there. It's
there, and you know it's there. So
you're
like,
there.
I'm not that far from a healthy thing on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
I love that studio. I love RCA in Nashville.
Okay.
The Dave Cobb space.
Yes.
That I've worked in there a lot, and it's really mystical and ghosty and awesome. I used to love Sound Emporium in Nashville. I think it's shut down right now for some reason. I love Bear Creek in Washington State. I love Electric Ladyland here in Jungle Studios.
Yeah.
I love my own studio at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your most comfortable spot?
It's getting there. I feel like a kid in there. That's the thing, why I feel like a kid. Like, I can try broken shit. Like, if that world just got a buzz, I'm like, awesome. Everything can be haphazard, substandard, strange. And then when you mix all those kind of like funky little broken little kid in their attic ingredients together, you wind up with these really unique sounding things that you don't get in some of the big city spots that have like impeccable equipment that they can either rent or that's just there, in residence.
Yep.
It's like making things work in a childlike space is a kind of alchemy that can lead to really, really cool recordings.
100%. Let's talk about some other really cool, if you look at this stuff or care, you may just like look at the album and just care about it's Lucinda's album, but like, are you a fan of any mixers or any producers that you kind of look up to and you're like, well, wow, that's kind of epic, and I see a pattern across their albums? Do you go down that deep dive of like, I love Sean Everett's mixes on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I'm a producer mixer fan. I care. I look into it. I check it out. I am definitely drawn toward a vocal, even a vocal sound, or, the way that supports the lyrics, and I have over time gotten fascinated with certain producers and things that they've done that are, particularly strange, or you're right, there's a through line, with what they've done historically. I love Brian Eno. I loved Daniel Lanois. I learned so much about Daniel Lanois from Trina Shoemaker. And I'm one of the luckiest girls in the world that has gotten the opportunity to work with T-Bone Burnett and Rick Rubin, and Dave Cobb and Shooter Jennings and some amazing people. And I've definitely witnessed some of the greatest pilots on earth, flying the plane. I would love to see some of our female counterparts gain status.
Indeed.
In those areas. It's because they're absolutely 1,000% qualified for it. And I think about Ann Mansili, I think about Trina Shoemaker. I think about these positions. Jordan Hamlin is another one.
Love her and her studio Moxie.
Jordan has given me so many ideas over the years and so much information. She's such a bizarre intellect. I can't get enough.
She helped. She contributed to writing the Fix the Mix report that we did with me. Yeah,
that sounds like a Jordan Hamlin.
Yeah, I called Jordan. I said, "You want to be involved in this?" And she was deep diving into the data with me. I mean, yeah, she's incredible. Love her to pieces. There's so many great women, and I think what you're doing is really important because I know you're just doing your thing and you're just experiencing your world and making art and making us all love it and experience it and feel pain and feel desire and feel happiness and joy and want to dance and stuff. And that's such a beautiful thing on the big consumer level, but specifically to our industry, to the recording industry, and to the young artists who want to jump over to the other side and start stirring the pot a little bit on the production stuff, and to the actual engineers, young, women and non-binary and engineers and trans and LGBTQIA plus people who are feeling that it's such a hard jump to make. You are an incredible, not just a safe harbor by example, but an inspiration, truly. And I know I don't think you set out to do that, right? I don't know, maybe you did, but you definitely are serving as that, which I think is such a beautiful thing. And I love being able to talk to you about it because it's so important. And I get a lot of these questions just because I've been the freak in the mess.
You are so consistent. You are just consistently ringing the bell over and over and over again, forcing us to talk about these things and forcing these issues into the light. And it's since I've known you, you have brought me into a higher understanding of how to talk and think about these issues. We're all really, really grateful for you.
Well, and I'm really grateful for you. And, again, like I didn't know that was something I was going to even be talking about or thinking about, but I just felt like I had to. And
it's a huge part of your job, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like it's important that women have a place in the conversation and that we're missing out if we don't have you producing, because I want to hear all these the education you've had with Shooter and Rick and Daniel, all these people, mind melding that all together and having it come out of you with your take. That's like, want to hear what that producer is going to make with the next artist. I really want to experience that. So it's so important. It's just so important. And I love that. I love that you're doing it. And I love championing you and anyone who's jumping in to kind of tell their stories.
Yeah, we have kind of two responsibilities, don't we? We have the responsibility of doing the job, which we love. We love it. That's what we do. But we also have the responsibility of promoting the fact that we're doing the job so that we can make it easier for other women to get the opportunities to do the job and for other women to be chosen. That's the real thing.
Hire them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been working with men my entire life, and I love them. And
many men.
Yeah, so many great men, and I wouldn't be where I am, No.
And
so I and there are lots of great allies. There are a lot of great allies and a lot of great people out there, and I just want to I actually want to bridge the gap. I want the segregation to stop. I kind of want us all to come together.
I think most of the guys are already doing it and want to do it. It's just a matter of kind of like illuminating the fact that it's already happening. When I think about my past relationships that were so mutually respectful with some of those producers, even the ones I got in the ring with, when I think about my current relationships with the engineers that I work with that are men and the respect I feel that they've awarded me, especially not knowing how to do their job, to not make me feel substandard because I don't know how to exactly do their job is actually more revolutionary than I think they even know. And maybe it shouldn't be because I wouldn't make them feel inferior that they couldn't do my job, right? But it's like,
sing this.
It doesn't go without saying that it's really kind for somebody that's so technically like yourself, advanced in their field, to let me pull up to that console and say things and make those things a reality. That's a really revolutionary concept that is new. I remember some of my early days in the studio. There were two occasions I can really think of that probably almost scared me away from ever doing this, where I think early on one of my records, we had a female A&R person. They came in and misspoke. It meant to say dB and said BPM. Mm-hmm. It's just it was a misspeak, but it became the theme of that recording process was to tease her when she wasn't around. And I took that in and I was like, that can't be me. I can't misspeak. I can never misspeak, or I'm going to be ridiculed when I'm not in the room. When you see that happen, you really appreciate when it doesn't happen. And that's the thing I'm getting to experience right now is people that are taking me seriously and giving me a chance to develop my skill.
Well, I am thrilled that you're doing it, and I'm thrilled that you have such a great team around you. I really believe that actually choosing your team is actually a masterful thing that everyone needs to do, and not kind of take it off, because it's crippling. You can't do all of this. You just can't.
No, you need communities of friends and stuff like that. I mean, I'm super culty anyway, so like I tend to like draw people to me like for life and then try to get them to move onto my property and stuff. So like I know what you're saying. Like I really believe firmly in community around these kinds of endeavors. Like it's really important.